Hello, and welcome to a look at Lethal Weapon for the Amiga, a game that was released by Ocean. As you can likely imagine, this is a movie tie-in game, and to give you some background, I will read up the scenario. Detectives Riggs even, and Murtaugh are really up to their necks in it this time. The lethal duo are called to the scene of a bomb scare. Riggs can't wait for the bomb squad and decides to defuse the thing himself. He cuts the wrong wire and they have to run for their lives. They make it, but the building doesn't. Naturally, the chief is a little upset, and consequently, they are back in uniform and back in the street. Patrolman Riggs and Murtaugh hits the town. When they foil a routine robbery and discover a suspicious quantity of weaponry, their report is hushed up. Undeterred, the two cops investigate further and discover massive illicit dealings in weapons confiscated by the police. It seems there's already an internal investigation into this matter, but Riggs and Murtaugh are not deemed responsible enough to help. First, they must prove their worth in the field of ordinary police work by closing 4 long-standing files. If they succeed, they will win back their badges and take on their toughest case yet. As you start the game, you are at the police station and you have access to various different rooms. Most of them are just mission rooms. There are 4 missions, but in order to unlock the 4th mission, you have to complete the other 3 missions, and you are encouraged to complete them in order, so 1, 2, and 3, of course. But you also have access to a locker room where you can switch between Riggs and Murtaugh, and they each have a certain strength. Riggs is very good at hand-to-hand combat, whereas Murtaugh is more of a weapons guy. But besides that point, they play identically. I think it's called. Whatever. The first mission is about preventing some money from being moved out of town, and as you are in control of either of the 2 characters, you will have to navigate various different screens, defeating bad guys and entering rooms and going from platform to platform or lift to lift in order to progress. The path is somewhat obvious, at least on the first part of level 1 or mission 1, whatever you decide to call it. But as you get further into the game, you will find that you have to start partially exploring, but also doing some very unpleasant and not very welcome blind jumps. And quickly you will discover that it becomes a question of trial and error, which is something that's very typical for a game of this type, and whether you like it or not, that is of course an individual thing. Whichever character you are playing, they have access to a gun and a melee kick that is entirely range dependent. Of course, if you run out of ammunition, you will be forced to just going into melee. The strength difference between them is shown by the fact that Riggs needs to kick an opponent fewer times to defeat them, and Murtaugh needs to shoot an opponent fewer times in order to defeat them. And the game encourages you to work out which character is ideal for which level, because once you are in a mission, you cannot switch characters. There are various different pickups. You can pick up health restore or extra lives and bonus points in the form of magnifying glass, which is clues, but they're just there for bonus points. They don't have any other importance for the gameplay. Each mission consists of 2 or 3 sublevels, and once you reach the final bit of whatever mission you're on, you are going to bump into a bad guy that is significantly tougher than the other bad guys, and then take him down before he takes you down, ideally. Complete the mission and be given a password, which you are highly recommended to write down, because that will store your progress so you can start from that point next time you start playing. From a technical point of view, I think I would say that the graphics overall are quite good. You can easily identify the two main characters from one another, beyond the obvious fact, of course, that they have two different skin colors, which is a fairly obvious thing. The environments they move around in are perhaps not overly spectacular looking in and by themselves, but they fit the tone and style and type of game incredibly well, and the graphics themselves move incredibly smoothly, which is something that I find highly enjoyable. Sound effects I'm very happy with. I think they are satisfying, which is such a good phrasing to use. They don't sound out of place, they don't annoy, frustrate, or any other thing. They do what they need to do and do it quite well overall. The music, it's not bad in any way, shape, or form, but I don't find it to be particularly exciting either. It's a good little background tune, and that is what I would classify as almost elevator music. A tune that you don't mind listening to, but it's not something that you're going to remember 10 years after having played it. Maybe you do, what do I know? But I find it to be decent but fairly run-of-the-mill, with one exception. Every single time you enter a new location, there's a slight bit of loading going on, and during that loading you can hear the music drags. It's not as bad as it was in Yo-Jo, a game I slammed horrifically for having that issue, but it's still noticeable, and I don't care which game it is, I don't find it a welcome thing, and I don't like it at all. The controls are what you want them to be: on left to move left, right to move right, down to duck or climb down stuff, and up to climb up stuff or jump. The fire button is used exclusively for attacks, so if you have ammunition and you are at range, your character, whichever it may be, will shoot, and if they are close in or run out of ammunition, they will do a kick. The controls are super responsive, which is something that I'm very happy about, because for a game of this type, the sharp controls are very important. Playing this game, I couldn't help but think of another movie tie-in that Ocean released, namely Hudson Hawk. The games look very similar and they feel very similar, but I have to admit, Lethal Weapon is somewhat sharper, somewhat more responsive and crisp and all that good stuff. So in that regard, I would say this is the better title. The foundation of this game is an action platformer trial and error title, and depending on your patience or lack of same, that is definitely a gameplay style that you may find utterly enjoyable or absolutely disgustingly vile. The game has an awful lot of sitting around waiting for lift timings to line up, and if you lose patience and start forcing the issue and try to force the jumps, you are likely going to hit the game over screen much sooner than you would likely enjoy. And if that happens at a certain point in the game where you're close to completing a level and getting the important passcode thing, your interest might dwindle incredibly quickly. All things aside, I could easily see that if you sat down and took the time and learned the timings and all that kind of stuff, this game is beatable. But would I want to do it? I think my thumbnail for this video will answer that question. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.